Exterior, countryside, dusk. A warm breeze courses through a tangle of overrun grassland, pushing the silver greenery aside to forge compact pathways. The last shards of sun fade between the rising crest of hillside and the threatening slate-grey clouds. Off past the murky, knee-deep puddle, a solitary lit window lures the night's first moths. There, in the Wiltshire countryside, kilometers from the busyness and the busyness of the world, an alchemic musical fusion breathes life. Welcome to the Unsleever. In today's video, I'm inviting you into the magical world of Goldfrapp's Felt Mountain, an album that turns 25 years old in September and still sounds as otherworldly as ever. This video also coincides with the release of Alison Goldfrapp's second solo album, Flux, which I'm very excited about. But today we're traveling back to the turn of the millennium and the making of this masterpiece. This video is part of a series where I cover albums that I love and that I think deserve their moment to shine. So far, I've covered albums by Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, Spice Girls, and more. So be sure to check those out and subscribe if you like them.
One thing we did talk about right at the beginning was trying to make an album rather than just a collection of songs, and trying to that there should be some kind of coherence and a theme, and that we wouldn't just be trying to... We were quite ambitious, I think. We weren't just thinking about one song at a time. I think we had we wanted a whole flavour.
A beginning, a middle and an end, as it were, yeah.
Goldfrapp is a duo out of the UK formed by Will Gregory and Alison Goldfrapp. But how did the group form? Well, for that we need to look into their individual journeys first. Originally from Bristol, Will Gregory is a multi-instrumentalist and music producer who spent the 80s touring with Tears for Fears as their saxophonist and continued to tour with people like Peter Gabriel, Tori Amos and Portishead. He would also compose soundtracks for film and TV. Alison Goldfrapp was raised in Alton, a small town in the south of England, and she was always surrounded by many forms of art. She spent most of the 90s singing on tracks by artists like Orbital or Tricky. After spending some years singing with a dance troupe in Belgium or Netherlands, there is conflicting information about where it was, although this footage surfaced a few years ago from the Dutch television archive. Eventually, she would enroll on a fine arts degree course at Middlesex Polytechnic. And one of my favorite fun facts about Alison is that for the final show of this art degree, she did a performance piece in which she milked a cow while yodeling. Will revealed in an interview that he heard a very early version of Human, which Alison had written and recorded, and would later appear in the album. After listening to it, it piqued his interest, and through common contacts in the music scene, they finally met. At this point, they were both looking for something more out of their careers. After working in other people's projects for years, they wanted to create their own thing. They hit it off, and after sharing with each other the music that they liked, they decided to form the group. In August of 1999, they signed a development deal with Mute Records, the same label that had signed Depeche Mode among many others. After searching for the right place to record in Bath, where Will was based at the time, they finally settled for a bungalow an hour away, in the Wiltshire countryside. They spent 6 months writing and recording what would become their debut album, Felt Mountain. Will would commute to and from the bungalow while Alison moved into it full-time. And while this new opportunity felt like a new beginning, the experience was not quite the fairy tale one would expect.
It was out in the middle of nowhere. I had a beautiful view over this valley. It's a pretty weird little house, had a kind of very odd atmosphere to it, which we liked.
Alison talked about her experience in an interview with The Guardian in 2004. It was mad and I wouldn't do it again. My social and private life collapsed. Because it was a bungalow, it felt really vulnerable. Big windows, mice in the roof. I like extremes, but at the end of that 6 months, I really did feel I was going bonkers. I remember spending 3 days in a raincoat, scrubbing the side of the bungalow, because there were all these spiders hatching. I became obsessive about the wildlife I thought was taking over the bungalow. It was disgusting, moths everywhere. You could hear mice scuttling across the roof. For better or worse, the environment in which it was created permitted the sound and the feel of the album, which is equal parts ethereal, eerie, dramatic, and intimate. The album contains 9 tracks produced and composed by the duo exclusively, apart from Human, which had other writers. The influences on each track are very extensive, but I will try to sum them up for you. One of the biggest influences on this album is the work of legendary film composer Ennio Morricone. This influence dates back to the days when Alison and Will were sharing music. Will recounts in the... Wait, I think the bungalow is... Interior bungalow, dawn. For a rare moment, the back room of the countryside bungalow remains silent. Early rays of sun glint off the strings of a second-hand harpsichord, radiating a corona of scrabbles across aching beams in the attic. After a tirelessly late night patching together their latest musical collage, Alison steps through the long hall, conspicuously avoiding the one where the pre-sunrise darkness lingers extra opaque. In the album's liner notes, Will recounts the following. I sent Alison my favorite music, mainly Ennio Morricone. The next time I called her, she was using one of the Morricone tracks as the message on her answering machine. I knew right then and there that we might be onto something. The first 2 songs they did for the album ended up being the first and last in the track list. I'm talking about Lovely Head and Horse Tears. Will said in an interview that both those songs acted as some sort of benchmark for the direction of the album. The lyrics were all written by Alison and were partially inspired by the experience of isolation in the bungalow. But that was not all. The song Utopia was mainly inspired by the concept of eugenics in the science fiction film Gattaca, and it investigates the idea of perfection as a fascist concept, hence the lyric Fascist Baby. But Alison also mentioned Tarkovsky's Solaris as a source of inspiration. On the song Human, Alison took inspiration from Perfume, the novel by German author Patrick Suskind, about a man with an exceptional sense of smell in 18th century France. And another science fiction reference is Blade Runner for the song Pilots, which also sounds like it could have been part of a James Bond movie from the 60s and is inspired by John Barry's soundtracks for the saga. Umpa Radar feels like it could be referencing the soundtrack of Roman Polanski's Cul-de-sac, and other influences that can be perceived are the cinematic world of David Lynch, Weimar-era music, and 60s European cinema. I have a couple more fun facts for you. For Paperback, Will asked Mute Records A&R Dean Wengrow to bring all male staff from the label into the bungalow for some harmonic humming. The vocal for Dear Stop, however, was recorded outside in the woods. Alison said that they tried to recreate it, but it didn't have the same feel, so they kept the original vocal take on the album. No direct inspiration has been quoted for the title track, but in an interview Alison explained how the Surreal album title came about. She said it was inspired by cartoons Fussy Felt, and went on to explain that she loves felt because it's a multi-purpose material that is used both for children's toys and for insulation. I think it bears a connection to the work of Joseph Beuys. He was an artist who highly valued felt, using it extensively in his art to symbolize protection, insulation, and the transformative power of heat. His personal mythology, stemming from a claimed wartime experience, involved being rescued and revived by nomads who wrapped him in felt and fat, imbuing the material with a deep personal and symbolic meaning related to survival and healing. Knowing the isolated way in which the album was created, this all makes a lot of sense. Despite all the influences on the conception of the album, they created a sound that felt completely new and unexpected, although it's considered within the umbrella of electronic music. And even though the album was conceived by these 2 incredible creative minds, it also included instrumentation by dozens of other musicians, such as John Parrish, usual collaborator of PJ Harvey, and Adrian Utley, member of Portishead.
I find genres really frustrating, and I guess they're usually sort of created by journalists. That's what I mean. Trip hop is something that, it doesn't really annoy me that we get. I just don't understand what it is, and I guess when we get compared to Portishead a lot and Björk, I mean all those people are great, but I feel like it's very superficial, and there's to scratch a little bit, and there's a whole load of other things that are probably much less obvious that are probably more important.
I quite like it when they say things that are completely crazy. I mean, someone said that we sounded like Supertramp, which I thought was great. Because I don't quite know how they got that. Maybe they just have got some alien implant in their ears. I don't know. Somebody said that future lounge was a word that got used, which I thought was quite a good soundbite.
For the visual part of the album, they really encapsulated the mood of where it was recorded. I can totally see this when looking at this photo from the making of the album. But the iconography of Felt Mountain is built around this photo of the Matterhorn mountain in the Swiss Alps, which was connected to the album long before it was finished. It was used as a back cover, and perhaps in a way we have to thank this photo for the album. Daniel Miller, the founder of Mute Records, was handed a 3-track demo by a friend who asked him to listen to it. The artwork was the name of the group and the photo of the mountain. He says in the liner notes that he connected to it instantly and it made him want to listen. Alison designed the artwork, and in an interview she recognized that the mirror image in the cover was a computer error, but she liked it and kept it that way. Elsewhere in the booklet and some of the promo photos from the era, we see photography by Alison's childhood friend, Anna Fox, with whom she did a photo series in the 90s called Country Girls. This was inspired by the sinister legacy of the Hampshire area where they both grew up, and where the murder of 8-year-old Fanny Adams happened in 1867. Some of these photos became very linked to the album's imagery, such as this one, which served as the single cover for Human. There were 4 music videos for promoting the album: Lovely Head, directed by renowned artist Wolfgang Tillmans, Utopia, Human, and Pilots. I want to show you some of the physical editions from the era, and the first one I have here is the CD from release year. This was later re-released in a special edition with remixes, the bonus track UK Girls Physical, which is a cover of the Olivia Newton-John song, and a documentary about the making of the album. This vinyl release came out in 2015 and it's the European repress on white vinyl. I was really excited when this finally got reissued. It maintains the same aesthetic as the original pressing. One thing I noticed is that the photo on the back cover has no one walking on it, like on the CD. This discrepancy was already present in the original vinyl pressing. The sound is pretty good on this, definitely better than the 20th anniversary reissue. Then we have the 20th anniversary edition, which came out 22 years later actually. This was the first time they re-released it on a gatefold, and it includes some very interesting liner notes written by Lear Phillips, which have served as a basis for this video. The pressing is said to be gold, but it looks a little bit more like peace yellow color. The mastering is really good, but my copy has quite a lot of surface noise on side A. Side B is not perfect, but a lot better. The first single, Lovely Head, includes the album version and 2 remixes. I like the Stair Mesto remix. Sound is great. Human includes the single version, the Calexico instrumental, which is incredible, and Macy's Neanderthal mix. It's a 45 RPM and the sound quality is really good. Finally, this reissue of Utopia came out almost a year after the album and features 3 remixes, with my favorite being the Jori Hulkkonen remix. If I had to pick my 5 favorite songs on the album, I would put at number 5 Album Closer, Horse Tears. Number 4 would be Utopia. At number 3, Paperback. At number 2 I would place Human, and my favorite song from the album is the amazing Lovely Head. So, what is the legacy of the album? Despite not performing commercially well at first, the album got critical acclaim right out of the gate, and it even earned them a nomination for the prestigious Mercury Prize in 2001. Today, it is considered an electronic art pop classic. In terms of influencing other artists, I can definitely see their influence on another favorite of mine, I Am I Who Am I, and Bad for Lashes or Beach House. I think that at the time they came out, they faced too many comparisons with people like Portishead or Björk, and while sharing some similarities, I honestly do not see the connection. Personally, I feel like the influence of this album on other artists might be less obvious than one would expect due to it never jumping into the mainstream. Another reason might be that it is such a singular album that not even Goldfrapp ever replicated its sound. But regardless of all of that, the album is beloved by music fans across the world. The cinematic, weird, atmospheric, opaque universe of Felt Mountain exists in a parallel world that one can jump into to escape this reality. In many ways, Felt Mountain never really left that bungalow in the middle of the British countryside. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed my little tribute to this special album, and if you did, please like, share and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you love most about Felt Mountain and Goldfrapp. Thanks for watching, see you next time.